Legislation to repeal capital punishment is making its way through the Delaware legislature. Will it pass this time? We'll talk to the bill's sponsor. This is the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. Welcome to the Delaware Way. Capital punishment has taken center stage once again in Delaware, and I was surprised to find out that Delaware is one of the most prolific states in the union when it comes to putting people to death. The person that just told me that is Senator Karen Peterson, who represents Newcastle County around the Christiana Mall, you said, and you have sponsored a bill to get rid of capital punishment in Delaware. How's it doing? Yes,
well, we have passed it in the Senate. It goes back over to the House now. We'll be going to the House Judiciary Committee. And we expect it to be blocked in the committee as it was 2 years ago when we passed the bill the first time. So our challenge this year is to break it out of committee and get it to the floor of the House where we believe we have the votes to pass it.
It's blocked in committee by Republicans?
No, actually by Democrats who control the House. And the reason being is that the law enforcement community has lined up against the bill. They want capital punishment for those who kill police officers or corrections officers. And so the leadership in the House has pretty much taken the side of law enforcement because the Speaker of the House is a retired state police officer. And so he has kind of sided with them in supporting, trying to block the bill in the House.
Is the whole thing kind of moot? Because I don't know where Governor Markell comes down on this. Is he going to sign it if it makes it to his desk?
Yeah, I believe he will. He's not come out and said that, but I believe that he will.
What does that tell you that he hasn't said then? I mean, so certainly he's not supporting the bill.
Well, he's staying out of it. He's staying out of it at this point. He's not taken a public position at all on the bill. So, I mean, I certainly wish that he would, as Governor OMalley did in Maryland, and it made all the difference in getting their bill passed. But he has just kept silent on it, and have to respect his decision to do that.
Well, no, you don't have to respect his position. You do. I don't. Because it is such an important issue, you would think that he would feel one way or the other on something like this. He knows where he stands on it. And it sounds to me, and you can disagree with me if you'd like to, that he's playing politics with it because he gets the benefit of both. He doesn't have to do anything now, so he can still placate law enforcement by not doing anything. But wouldn't you expect more from a governor?
Well, if I were governor, I would take a position on it. It's a very important issue. I've had the discussion with the governor a number of times. I've asked him to take a public position. I've encouraged him to do that, and for whatever reason, he has decided not to.
Do you have any feeling one way or the other what he would do? Because it's such an important question. You're doing a lot of work, and it may be for naught.
Right. No, I believe he would sign the bill if we get it past both houses.
Because then he wouldn't be the only one, too. I mean, because there'd be a lot of supporters for the bill. What is the argument against it in committee?
Well, the argument against it is purely from a law enforcement perspective, and they believe that it serves as a deterrent, that it somehow protects law enforcement from murder. And of course, statistics don't bear that out. The 8 deadliest states for law enforcement, all 8 have the death penalty. So there's no correlation between having the death penalty and making police safer. In the last 3 years, there have been 6 correctional officers killed by inmates. All 6 were in states that have the death penalty. So there really is no argument for it. And when you point that out to law enforcement, their next position is, well, it's really retribution. And of course, that is what it is. It's state-assisted revenge. That's all the death penalty is. It serves no other purpose.
Yeah, every time I hear an argument for capital punishment, they talk about the victims' families. But the victims' families have to go through a lot because it's not like you just say somebody's going to get the death penalty and they die. It plays out for a long, long time.
On average, it plays out about 17 years. And the victims' families are dragged through hearing after hearing after hearing. At least with life without parole, which is what my bill proposes in place of the death penalty, at least when they get that sentence, that's it. And they can move on with their lives and not be called back in and not have false hope about someday that person's going to be executed, because only 1% of all murderers who get the death penalty are actually executed. So only 1% of all murderers get the death penalty, and of that group, only 1% get executed. So the chances of not being executed are huge.
And let's talk about the specifics of your bill, because I think that a lot of times people that are against the death penalty are seen as weak on crime, and you certainly want penalties for these people that would be normally on death row.
Yes, and I believe that life without parole is the penalty. It keeps society safe, if that's our concern, that these people should be off the streets. But it does it in actually in Delaware, we have 243 murderers right now in our prisons who did not get the death penalty. So murderers are not likely to get the death penalty. We have lots of them already there. It's cheaper, for one thing. Life without parole is cheaper than the death penalty. Death penalty costs 2 to 3 times more than life without parole. Death penalty risks killing innocent people. I mean, just this year, Delaware had a guy, Jermaine Wright, who has been on Delaware's death row for 20 years, who was just released from prison. And we run the risk of killing innocent people. And in this country, this week, we reached 142 death row inmates who have been exonerated. Not just released from death row, but released from prison because they either weren't guilty or they found prosecutorial misconduct or whatever the case may be. But, it makes no sense. It's arbitrary, it's discriminatory. Cornell University found that in Delaware, a black who kills a white is 7 times more likely to get the death penalty than a black who kills another black. They found that the race of the victim matters the most in Delaware in terms of who gets the death penalty.
No, I understand, and believe me, I've heard all of these arguments, and I think it does come down basically to emotion. And you can look the widow of a police officer in the eye and say to that person, which is really what the argument is, which is why you get some pushback on this, and say this is the best thing for you, for this person not to die?
Well, it's interesting because the last police officer who was killed in Delaware, Officer Zerba, his killer did not get the death penalty. And Officer Zerba's brother, after the sentencing, said that he was grateful because now they could get on with their lives and not be dragged through 17 years worth of appeals. So, there's a case where a law enforcement officer's family felt the same way. And so, I mean, not all victims' families want revenge. A lot of them realize that it just drags them, it makes them relive the crime over and over and over again. And for healing purposes, life without parole is better.
Well, good luck with the bill, and we'll be following it. I know you want to talk about something else as well. You have a bill which will be, I think, a lot less controversial, and that deals with people who leave their dogs in cars when it's hot out.
Yes. I was shocked to learn, and I learned it the hard way, by finding a puppy locked in a car on a hot day in a shopping center parking lot. And I called 911. I thought that's what you did. There's a little black lab puppy in the back of a car. He was whimpering. Had been there for some time on a really hot day. And I called 911, and they said, well, we don't do that. I said, what do you mean you don't do that? The dog's going to die. And they said, well, we don't do it. We can't break into people's cars and save animals. And so, as it turns out, we were able to break into the car ourselves, through a sunroof without having to break any windows. But I thought, we need to at least allow first responders to rescue animals from cars. We do that for children who are locked in cars. We do it, we do it in a lot of cases. Why not for animals? And so I introduced the bill. It's been passed in the Senate and is now over in the House. But it only allows, police, firefighters. It can't just be a good Samaritan.
Right, so don't go and break windows, because don't get the wrong idea.
That's right.
But you'll be able to call 911.
Exactly, and get a response and save the animal.
Well, it's good to have a non-controversial bill, too.
Oh, it is.
Senator,
yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Good luck with the
Larry.
bill. Please come back.
Great, thank you.
Senator Karen Peterson from Newcastle County. Stick around. The Delaware Way continues after this.